morning, YouTube. And how are we on this Wednesday morning? Oh my gosh, we had a massive big storm last night down in Oz. It was so windy. I think we even had some dust. Those bushfires pretty much has it won't take long for everything to regrow, and it'll be quite nice because most of our plants here in especially on the east coast of Australia need fire to regrow, to seed again. So it's going to be quite nice to see the regrowth. But our infrastructure now, that's a different story altogether. Industrial disease. Wow, what a song. As a whole, you can pretty much sum up, like, I remember when I was young, I used to hear all these stories about from the 60s and the teenagers from the 60s and 70s just trying to seek something different than the plain structured life of their parents. But then by the time I came around, it was sort of like, what happened? Each generation, from the 60s to the 70s to the 80s to the 90s to even now, and even now we've got children, especially in my talks. Oh my gosh, the children today, adults, we have something to be scared of because they do have voices, as we've learnt from the climate change walks. But it's sad that they think that they were the first generation to speak out. Like, I thought I was part of the first generation to speak out. The children from the 60s thought they were the first generation to speak out. So forth, as we go through the centuries of time. There's always been people that would like to see more than just war and greed, and more of a share and care attitude around. And there's always another group to take that over and use and abuse it to turn it around to ownership. Here in Australia, industrial disease hit us really bad very quickly. Around less than 250 years ago, we had an indigenous culture that didn't have an ownership of the land, that cared and shared the land to a degree for a very long time. Then when the ships came in and the wheel, pretty much industrial disease wiped it out with smallpox and alcohol and a lot of other things within 100 years. And it's only now, through the sharing of knowledge and the care of each other, that we're starting to learn more about our past culture. And indigenous peoples weren't savages. They were more of a society than we ever thought they were. They were just different to up north, very, very different. They didn't rely on buildings. They relied on Mother Nature in a way and built temporary buildings and walked around with the weather. Because you have to, here in Australia, we've got crazy weather all over the place. So I think this industrial disease is definitely going to be 2 videos because it stems in 2 parts. So simply, in a very short time of years, Australia's been bombarded, and in between all that money and all that growth, the main reason for life is to give birth and give gifts and children into this earth, and hopefully work together and care for each other. And here in Australia, we try on black and white paperwork. We've got a really good social welfare system, a very good social welfare system. But in reality, main causes of homelessness is domestic violence. We've got a real big problem with ownership. We've got a really big problem with domestic violence and the way it's dealt with. I'm sad to say that if you do a little bit of research, you can find out that there's been a lot of family deaths over domestic violence. And we had an incident early on this week, which I won't talk about because it's a very tough subject, because when you talk about domestic violence, it is a part of industrial disease, big time. It's the little part. It's the little part of how families can't unite and work together uniquely as individuals. And then we go out into a community and try and work commonly to build a better future. And here in Australia, when something really bad goes happen with a family, like domestic violence, to me stems from mental health to some degree. To some degree it doesn't. You just have to look at the personal circumstances involved, and you can't label it or judge it as a whole. You need to individually look at each person's families. This month I've been doing talks about this subject for many years now, and it's only really, I'm only getting the understanding of it myself, and how there's not one solution to fix it, because it's a community issue. Like, we bring children into the world, and we believe that as parents we bring those children up, but as I will repeat, we don't. The community and us bring them up, and it's not being able to work together to uniquely bring a gift into the world, and that child starts to live in fear, and that's where we get the division, a great problem starting from practically year one. So this is the introduction to industrial disease. And then we follow through to Masters of War, and that's how Masters of War can play with all our lives, because we're so busy and we're so divided, and we don't look at the problems and the real issues that are happening around us as a community in a creative and constructive way. We wait till a very bad thing happens, either in our small community or nationally, and then everyone goes around and says they're truly sorry, and they'll work harder to make things not happen again. But then the focus is just on the family. The focus isn't on the community and what brought the stage of that violence to get to the degree that is what stops a male or a female from leaving a relationship. And what is domestic violence in a way? It's the word itself stopping us from actually looking into the problems. So have a think of this video first, because it is a bit woo, and the next one I'll try to explain a little bit more simply the chain reaction effects, because especially here in Australia, we need to look at more of a solution than just hiding a person away and shutting children away. And we've got to listen to children, really, we really do, when it comes to families, and I'll get into that in my next video. And maybe if we can help a family work together and try and work their problems out in a community way without the gossip and the name calling and the blame and shame, we might have a better response to a really bad situation we have here down in Oz at the moment. So have a look at this video and take a think about it, and I'll do the next one in a minute. Bye YouTube.